Our very own BYJU'S 6th, 7th and 8th grade channel. I'm your geography teacher Aishwarya and I welcome you to today's class, which is going to be on one of the most fascinating topics I think for all of us at any point of time. That is, today we are going to be learning about our solar system. Now of course this is to kickstart your first chapter in geography, right? Your textbook is of course called The Earth, Our Habitat. Yes, so here of course we see that in this particular chapter in your textbook we are going to be doing the first chapter, the Earth in our solar system, and of course today we will be talking only about our solar system. Yes, there are so many topics that are there within this particular chapter, but we will cover this very interesting topic. Yes, so everybody, I hope my audio, my video and my screen and what I'm writing on the screen is visible to all of you. If it is, give me a quick thumbs up in the live chat to let me know that we are good to go. Now of course this is to kickstart grade 6 social sciences. Yes, so please make sure all of you have your notebooks, you all have your textbooks ready with you, so that if at all, right, you want to write something down, you can write it. Yes. Okay, and see, in our class, right, see, you're all in 6th standard, you are slowly learning things. Yes, you are slowly learning, and from BYJU'S we always believe that when you learn, you should learn it properly and wholeheartedly, right? So we will pick up small topics, but we will learn them very well today. Yes, and everyone, in case if you don't have it in your textbook also, or in case if you don't have it in your textbook, it's fine. This is definitely going to be helpful in the future. Yes. Okay, now all of you know your timetable, right? All of you know that every day at 6 o'clock you have YouTube classes for class 6. Yesterday, of course, you had maths class, right? And then the previous day you had science class. Today you have social studies class. Now, similarly, we see that every day between Thursday and Friday, we now have summer camp classes going on, but we normally do level up sessions around that time. Yes? So everybody, I hope my audio, my video, everything is perfect. Renu, if my sound is not coming, just please make sure that you increase the volume in your phone, right? Good evening, Gaurav, Anushka, and many others who have joined the class today. Yes, so shall we get started? Are we all ready for today's class? Right? How many of you have read this first chapter? How many of you have just gone through your textbooks? Yeah, I'm not asking you to tell me things in greater detail, but how many of you have read it? Yes, maybe. If you tell me, ma'am, I did not read it also, it's okay, right? You can just tell me no also. Yes, many of you have already read the chapter. Now, if you see this particular chapter starts in a very different way, right? So, as you all know, I'm going to start with something that all of you are aware of, right? Now, of course, assuming it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Or let's assume that it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I ask you to look outside your window. What will you tell me? Now imagine I told you go outside at 3 o'clock, okay? Go outside at 3 o'clock and look outside in the afternoon. Yes, now it's 6 o'clock, but I'm telling if at 3 o'clock I ask you to do it, what will you tell me? You will see that it will be sunny, right? Yes, somebody, Suman's throw. Yes, Manvi is telling me, ma'am, here I can see a shining sun. Okay. You can see a shining sun, alright, or you will tell me, ma'am, it is sunny, or I can see the sun outside. Okay, outside my house, right there, the sun on top, it is right there. Yes, all of you have heard this, we all use this word. And then yes, some of you will tell me, ma'am, it is also very hot nowadays, right? Sun is up there, sun is shining so bright, it's also very hot. That is also there. But now, if I tell you, okay, imagine today at 9 o'clock, I ask you to go to your window and I ask you to see outside your window. What will you see outside your window? At 9 o'clock in the night, I ask you to go outside and I ask you to see. Somebody's like, oh, ma'am, October is there. No, I'm asking now, right? I ask you to go outside and see. Yes? Will you tell me, ma'am, it is very sunny? No, right? It will not be. Will you be able to see the sun at night? Yes or no? At night, our picture looks very different, no? First and foremost, at night it is very dark, right? It's pretty dark outside. But we know that there are days where we also see something, we see the moon. Okay, so we also see the moon. Now many of you are telling me, ma'am, stars. Okay, ma'am, no sun is there, dark sky. Yes. So now very good observation. Somebody told me dark sky. But what was it? If I go back, you see that the sky is, pretty bright and blue, right? And imagine it's a bright sunny day. Yes. So these are some things we normally tell. Now see, one thing is for us to just simply say that sun is there, moon is there, stars are there, everything is twinkling. But what exactly is all of this, right? Now, of course, if you look closely, now if you live in the city, of course, it's going to be very difficult. But normally if you go to like the mountains or if you go to, villages, you see that the dark sky or the night sky, it is actually pretty dark, right? And we see there are a lot of these twinkling things. Yes? How many of you can see this? There are so many things which are twinkling here, right? So now, of course, if you go out there and you gaze at it, if you just stare at the night sky, you will see that there are so many twinkling objects. So what are these twinkling objects that we observe? Yes? So many of you here have given me the answers. Many of you are like, ma'am, it's stars, ma'am, it's constellations, right? But I have a bigger question for all of you. Is this part of our earth? Is this part of our sky? Let me ask you in that manner. Is this right here part of the sky? Yes or no? Is it part of the sky? Yes or no? Yes. Now many of you must be thinking, ma'am, it is twinkling. I am seeing the sky. Things are twinkling in the sky. So that means it should be part of my sky only. No, because I'm looking at my sky and I'm able to see it. But as a matter of fact, it is not, right? And these things that you observe twinkling in the sky are what we call as celestial bodies. Yes, we call them as celestial bodies. Yes. So today we will understand very simply. Like I told you, today is the first class, introductory class, right? So we see that we will understand what are these celestial bodies and what are the celestial bodies that we can see in the sky. Yes. So let's understand with a very simple definition of, or let's see how we can, understand celestial bodies, right? Now, celestial bodies are any natural bodies. So that means it's not something that man made, right? They are naturally present outside the Earth's atmosphere. So anything which is not present within the Earth's atmosphere and that is present outside the Earth's atmosphere and it is there naturally, we call it as a celestial body. So what are the three things that you have to keep in mind? These are the three key words: natural body, outside and Earth's atmosphere. Okay? Three things you have to keep in mind. Now, very quickly, we have a word which we have to understand, right? That is Earth's atmosphere. Now, very quickly, you can take a minute to understand and think about, do I know what is an atmosphere? Yes or no? Do I know what do I mean by the Earth's atmosphere? So, if you are a person, right, or if you are a student watching this video much later after the live stream, take a minute and try to understand, right? Or take a minute to try and think for yourself. Yes? So many of you here know what the Earth's atmosphere is. So I will take a very quick minute to explain this to you, right? So when you talk about the Earth's atmosphere, we know that the Earth that is there has various gases, right? So we know that, of course, there are various different gases like nitrogen, right? We see that there is oxygen. Then, of course, we have percentages of carbon dioxide. Then, of course, we see that there are various other gases, right? Now, we see that this mixture of gases is what makes air, right? So, air is nothing but what? Air is a mixture of gases. And here we see that along with that, there is small percentage, 0.01 percentages of other gases like argon and various other things. Now, we see that all these gases, they form a blanket or they form a surrounding around the Earth, right? And we call this as atmosphere. So, the blanket of air, right, that surrounds the Earth is what we call as atmosphere. So any of you who had a doubt in this, I hope now you are clear. right? And now, of course, blanket of protection, you can say, at one aspect of it, but most likely because of this presence of the atmosphere and the kind of atmosphere we have is why it makes life on earth possible, right? So going back to a celestial body, what is a celestial body? A celestial body is one wherein we observe that it is, of course, any natural body which is present outside the earth's atmosphere, right, is what we call as that. So easy peasy, no? So I'll give you a question. We have hot air balloon. So this is a question for all of you to think about, right? Now, as you can see, you have the earth and you can observe that there is aeroplane, there are birds, and there is, hot air balloons. Are these celestial bodies? Yes or no in the live chat very quickly. Can I say that aeroplanes, birds, they're all flying in the air? No, I don't know whether it is part of the atmosphere or no. So can I say that the aeroplanes, the birds and the hot air balloons, right, are they outside the atmosphere or within the atmosphere? Now the clue for all of you is that I've given the heading as inside the Earth's atmosphere. Now birds are living organisms, no? And I told you that atmosphere is nothing but a blanket of air. It is like a surrounding of air. Now you imagine if the bird goes outside the atmosphere, will it be able to survive? No, right? Conditions are not ideal. There is no air or oxygen for it to breathe. So it will not survive. Similarly, aeroplane may who will only travel? You, me and all only will travel. No, so aeroplane can't be flying outside. And it is not, of course, we know that there are objects that can go outside the atmosphere. But aeroplane as such flies within the atmosphere. Similarly, the same case goes for hot air balloon. So can I call all of these as celestial bodies? Absolutely not. So all these things that you see are not celestial bodies. Now, of course, moving on, right? We have all these things. As you can see, what all do you observe? We see that there are these ball-like structures which we call as planets, right? Now, we've all learned about it in our lower grades. We see that there are planets. You can see there are rockets. Then you see that there are some stars. Now, are these part of our atmosphere? So are these part of our atmosphere? No. So if they're not part of our atmosphere, are they celestial objects? Exactly, right? So here, of course, mind you, not the rocket. Rocket is not a celestial body, okay? This is not a celestial body. Now, can any of you tell me why rocket is not a celestial body? Because I'm telling you, moon, sun, star, planet, all of these are celestial bodies because they are not present within the Earth's atmosphere. But rocket is also not within the Earth's atmosphere, right? It is not within the Earth's atmosphere. Then why am I not calling it as a celestial body? Yes? Very good, Hyper Gaming and many others. You are all super smart. We know that one such important definition, right? One such important pointer when it comes to defining a celestial body is that it should be natural, right? So it should be natural. And in this case, we know that rockets are not natural, but it is man-made. We make it, right? Which is why in this case, we see that we cannot consider it as a celestial body. Yes? So with this, everybody, we have understood what are celestial bodies. Have we understood this very simple, basic understanding do we have? Yes or no? Yes? Yes or no? Have we all understood this? I am going very slowly for all of you because this is how you learn, right? So you're all in 6th standard. You are all just learning, right? Yes? So we are all just learning and growing slowly, right? Which is why we consider or we talk about, I'm taking these concepts one by one, right? Okay. So now, of course, we've understood what is a celestial body, right? Now, of course, it includes your stars, it includes your sun, your planets, your moon, and other objects like asteroids and meteoroids. Now, what is it that I will be teaching you today? Now, today, of course, we will be learning about stars, right? Now, here specifically, I'd like to say, we will not go into all kinds of stars because all kinds of stars, I will be taking another class for it. But today we will focus mainly on these two, sun and planets. Okay, this is our main focus for today. But before I get into sun and planets, I told you about stars, no? When you think about stars, do you think stars look like this? sky may, in, wherever they are outside our atmosphere, do you think that stars will be looking like this? Yes or no? Whenever we draw stars, in school also I'm telling you, in art class especially, if they tell you draw the night sky and draw stars, what will you do? You will draw many stars like this. No, you will put stars and say, ma'am, night sky and one moon you will draw, and then you will put one smiley face in the moon. You will draw like this only, no? How many of you will draw this? Yes, we all draw it in this way in class, right? Or whenever we have to do art class. Or sometimes what do? We will put dots, right? We all put dots. We'll put one moon like this, and then we'll put many dots. Oops, my dots look very dirty. But you'll draw dots like this and say that, oh ma'am, see, these are all stars, right? Night sky. This is what we do, right? But what exactly is a star? Now, a star is an object, right? It is a celestial body which has the ability to make their own light, right? So now, of course, we see that they have the ability to produce their own heat, and of course, they produce their own light. Now, imagine, I'm sure that in physics, right, when you were learning about light, Saurabh sir would have told you about luminous and non-luminous objects. How many of you remember this? When you were, learning light session, how many of you remember Saurabh sir talking to you about luminous and non-luminous objects, right? Now, what are luminous objects? Can you tell me very quickly? See, some physics comes into this, right? Physics also comes into this. So, what are luminous objects? Now, I need you to tell me that. Very good. Sun is a luminous object, okay, through which light can pass through them, or which produce their own light, right? Objects that are bright, exactly, right? So objects which are bright or which produce their own light is called as a luminous object. So let's associate that with what we are learning. Stars that are here, they produce their own light, which means stars are luminous objects. Now, what are these stars made up of? Are they made up of many torches in them? Do they have torches which they keep flickering? No, right? We see that the stars that are there, they are made up of gases, right? So we see that it's actually a mixture of various gases, and we see that lot of chemicals, chemical reactions are taking place such that they are able to produce their own light or they're able to generate their heat, right? Which is why in this case we see that this is how we define stars. Now, there are various kinds of stars, but which is the largest star in our solar system? The largest star that is there is nothing but the sun, right? And we see that the next star, which is very close to the sun, is called as Proxima Centauri, right? Yes. Ma'am, stars are bigger than the sun or the moon? There are different kinds of stars, right? We have different types of stars. Some stars are small, some stars are big, right? But in this case, the sun, which is also a star, is the biggest star that is there, right? And they're made up of various gases. So let's talk about the sun. Yes, which is the Earth's nearest star and the biggest star. Proxima Centauri is an example of another star which is very close by to the sun. Now, close by is not 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, okay? Inside the Earth, when you go outside the Earth's atmosphere and you go into space, you understand that the distance is huge, right? Distance is huge. Now, I would like to stop for 1 minute. Students, I think Geeta is not able to hear me, but are all of you able to hear me? Because I can see that you're all asking me questions and responding to me. You're all able to hear me, right? Yes or no? Yes, Devi. Yes. Then please help Geeta out, and I think she is facing some technical issues, probably her, her volume might be down, or some issue. So can you please help your friend out? Please help Geeta out, right? Yes. Thank you so much, right? She kept sending it to a point when I thought that none of you could hear me. Gaurav, you will be able to get all the notes on the Telegram channel. Request your parents to join the Telegram channel and you will be able to get it, because I would never advise my students to join Telegram, which is why please request your parents to join on your behalf and they'll be able to give you the updates. Yes? Okay. Now, of course, we know that the Earth is the sun is the Earth's nearest star, right? So now of course we know that the Earth, that is there, the Earth, the sun and many other planets, they are part of our solar system, right? So we are all part of the solar system. Now what do we mean by solar system? Now this is not, again, something from 4th standard, 5th standard we have been learning, right? Yes, 4th standard, 5th standard onwards we have been learning, solar system. But what is solar system? Why do we call it solar? Can any of you tell me? Can any of you maybe take a guess as to why we call it as solar? Or solar system? Why not some other system? Maybe lunar system or maybe something else. Why solar? Yes? Ma'am, system is called as group of planets. Okay, very good. The moon, the sun, planets and other bodies. Yes, very good. Tanishka's like, ma'am, maybe because of the sun. Tanishka's getting closer, right? It is based on history, family of the sun. Okay, very good, very good. Ma'am, sun is mother of all planets. How cute. Very cute. See, now mainly if you see the word soul, right? Now, it could be pronounced differently, maybe Sol, right? So if you see the word Sol in Roman mythology, right? It comes way back in the, Roman time, way back, right? So in Roman mythology, we say that this means sun god, right? So it means that sun god. That means solar means that it is related to the sun, yes? So it is related to the sun. So we see that the family of the sun, the planets, and of course the associated moons that are there, we refer to this as the solar system. So how many of you are now clear, right? See, now of course we know that formation of the solar system, and of course we see that formation of solar system, formation of planets, all of that is a different story altogether, which, see, it's not like we have a conclusive story. People are still trying to figure out a lot of things. We are learning a lot of things, right? So there are some for which we have facts and we have hard known things, but for many other things we are still learning, right? Not that sun is mother and father and all. It's just that the word Sol means sun god, right? And we know that in various customs and traditions and religions we worship the sun, which is why at this point we see that solar comes with the ideology that it is related to the sun, right? So we see that the solar system includes sun as the main and the largest star. It has 8 planets. We see that there are various satellites, and along with that there are asteroids and other objects. So now of course we see that satellite, other objects and focusing about other stars, I will be doing it in the next class. Today, what are we going to focus about? Sun and the 8 planets. Now, why should we learn about the solar system? Ma'am, I'm happy learning about my own thing. Now see, you are in class 6th right now, and tomorrow probably, right, learning about how, probably how the earth was formed, yes, would give us a big insight into understanding about, we do know how the earth is formed, but understanding space, understanding, lot of how things work, it also helps us look at the future, right? So tomorrow, if imagine you want to maybe build another earth or find another earth, or maybe, go and live off in another planet, we will be able to do all of that, right? Which is why in this case we learn about all of this, and it starts with now, right? So let's learn about the solar system. Now, why is it that we call as the sun as the head? So just like every family has a family head, the sun is also the head of the solar system, because the planets that are there, they revolve around the sun, right? So we see that all the 8 planets that I told you about, it's not like there is sun here, then there is some planet here, there is some planet here, there is some planet here, everybody are just, chilling. No. Normally what we observe is that there is a proper structure. Similarly, like how if you have to go to your neighborhood, right? Now you imagine you look at your, area. You just look at your area. Now in your area, it is not that there will be one house here, then one house here, then maybe one more house randomly here. But rather there will be a proper structure, there will be a proper way in which they are organized. And we see that there will be roads and everything which will be connecting so that you can travel through them, right? So we observe that at this point, right? So as you can see that the head of the solar system that is there, yes, so we know that the head of the solar system is the sun, right? And we see that the sun closely looks something like this. Normally, when you look at the sun outside, you should not look at the sun directly, okay? But if you look at pictures of the sun, you will see one bright yellow object, no? You will see one bright yellow object and you see sparks which are coming out of it. But as you can see, this is how the sun looks like. Now, very quickly, students, I can go very fast and I can go very slow, but I need all of you to pay attention, right? Don't have random chats. If you want to have random chat, you can leave the class, right? Don't disturb my other students, please. Thank you. Now, as you can see, this is how the sun closely looks like, right? This is how it observes. And we see that it is made up of extremely hot gases, mainly hydrogen and helium. Now, before you ask me, ma'am, what gas? As you can see, it is made up of hydrogen and helium. And we see that the reason why the planets, right? Why the planets that are there, they are able to go around the sun is because the sun in itself has a certain pulling force that kind of binds the solar system together. Otherwise, it's not like the planets can't drift off and do their own thing. But rather, it kind of has a pulling force that kind of makes the solar system as it is. And of course, as we know that the sun is the nearest star. Now, of course, you see various objects which are there around the sun. They are nothing but the planets. Now, what are planets? Now, planets are not like stars, okay? So, this will come in your exam, okay? Yes. Ma'am, you told sun is the biggest. I told it is the biggest star in our solar system, right? Yes. So, now, of course, right? Now, I specified because there are bigger stars than the sun. Yes? Okay. So, now, of course, as we see, right? Here in this case, we saw that there are celestial bodies, right? So, we see that there are celestial bodies. And of course, here we know that one kind of it are stars, right? And stars have the ability to emit their own light. But what about planets? Can planets emit their own light? They cannot, right? Planets are non-luminous. Exactly. So, we see that planets are non-luminous because they cannot produce their own heat and light. And of course, we see that they are lit, or their source of light is the star. Yes? Now, why are we calling it as planet? Why not anything else, right? Now, the reason why we call it as planet is because, again, it comes from the Greek word, which is planetai, right? It comes from the Greek word. And we see that it means wanderers. Now, the reason why we call it as such is because it wanders around the sun. Hence, it is called as a planet. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? So now, of course, we're going to have a look at the different planets. So very quickly, everybody, can you tell me what are all the 8 planets that are present in our solar system one by one? Closest to the sun. Which is the planet which is closest to the sun? This is this is a question for all of you, right? Very good. The first planet that is here is, of course, Mercury, which is the closest planet, followed by which, what do I have? You all have learned this, right? So then, of course, we have Venus. Then what do we have? We have Earth, followed by which we have Mars. Then we have a huge planet here, which is Jupiter. Then we have Saturn. Then we have Uranus, right? Exactly, Saturn. I'm checking your answers, right? Yes. After this, we have Uranus, and then we have Neptune. So, these are our 8 planets, right? All the 8 planets, exactly. And I can see some, mnemonics also being sent on the live chat. Very good, all of you. Very good. Now, notice how when I was showing you these planets, can you see these structures? Yes? Can you see some lines? And whenever we draw solar system and the planets, we always draw these lines also. So what are these lines that you observe? Yes? Can any of you understand or see what these lines are? They are imaginary lines, of course. Yes, exactly. But we draw it anyway, right? But what do we call it? We call these as orbits, right? We call them as orbits. So it's not like the planet. Now imagine if this is my solar system. It is not like the sun is here and my Mercury, right? Or my, let's say my Venus, the Earth. I'm just going to draw 3. It's not like they'll be standing at one point, right? Does it mean that the planets are always at one point? No, but rather they're constantly wandering, or they are moving around the sun, right? They are constantly moving, or I'll say they're constantly revolving around the sun. They are moving, but they'll not randomly move that they'll go hit each other, right? But they will move along a fixed path. And this fixed path that are there is not circular, it is elongated, right? Yes, it is elongated, and we call this path as an orbit. Now, of course, I randomly drew it, but as we all know, right, like how Rishu is telling me, it's rare that they are in a straight line, but for easiness of drawing and representing, I have drawn it one after the other, right? So we see that they revolve or they move in this aspect around the sun, and different, of course, the length, we know that they are arranged in a certain manner. We know that Mercury is closest, followed by Venus, right? So we see that because they are arranged at different positions or distances from the sun, they take different amount of time to actually finish one revolution or one circle around the sun, right? So we will learn about all of that in greater detail in the upcoming chapters. But for now, you need to imagine. Orbit is, yes, it is actually, Shriya. It's a fixed path through which it moves, not like there's one line that it follows, right? Yes. So now, of course, let's quickly explore a little bit more about each of these planets. Now, in your textbook, of course, they have given you only about the first 3 planets, but very quickly, I will tell you some fun facts about the other planets also, and then we will wind up again. But before I go ahead, are we all feeling confident? Yes. What did we learn so far? We learned that anything which is present outside the earth is what we call as a celestial object. Now, celestial objects that are there could be stars which produce their own light and heat, or they could be planets. Now, we know that the sun along with the planets, they form the solar system, right? And we know that the solar system is called so because sol means sun god, and of course, it means involved in the sun, right? Why is Pluto a planet or why is Pluto not a planet? I will tell you towards the end, right? But Tanishka is more or less giving me the answer. Are we clear? Very good, very good. Okay. So very quickly moving on. All right. See, if you have doubts, you can ask me because most of you know a lot about this. Yes, we can say Rishu, but we avoid. We use technical terminologies and we say celestial itself, right? Yes. Try to identify and use technical terminology, so we will technically use the term. Ma'am, why are the planets are at different places? Okay, see, the reason why planets are at different places is because, again, as you see, during formation, right, at some point during formation of the solar system and everything, we saw that they arranged and they wandered off, right? Not like in space, it is not like here where you have a foundation and you fix it. Space or outer space that is there is a, what do you say, it's a little bit where the planets can wander. But at one point, due to the distance in which they wandered, and we see that they're able to orbit around, we see that they're all at different pointers, right? Okay. Ma'am, can we touch stars? Stars are very hot. You can't go and touch the sun, right? Sun is extremely hot, right? Yes. Okay. All right. Now, of course, see, there are some questions for which, some arbitrary questions for which I may or may not know the answer, right? I will be honest about that. If I will tell you that I know everything, then that is not good, right? But of course, I tell you there are some for which we don't really have answers and for which I may, I would not be able to tell you because we're still discovering all of that. So as much as I know and as much as we know, I will help you out for it, right? So now, of course, someone asked me, ma'am, why don't planets revolve? Planets do revolve. They revolve around the sun, right? Okay. Now let's quickly move on, everybody, to the first planet that is there, which is Mercury. Now we know that Mercury that is there is the smallest planet, and of course it is the nearest to the sun, right? Now we see that to finish one round around the sun, right, or one revolution around the sun, it takes only 88 days. Yes, and of course, if Mercury is very close to the sun, you imagine sun is here and then you have Mercury. It will be very hot, no? The temperature in Mercury must be pretty hot. Yes or no? So we also see that in this case, we observe that Mercury that is there is a very hot planet as well. Yes? And of course, we observe that again, it experiences dramatic change. That means, see, when it revolves also, when it rotates also, it will have day and night, right? And of course, we see that at this point, yes, we see that it experiences dramatic changes in both day and night. Yes, Rishu, exactly. Because we know that, of course, the hottest planet, yes, despite the fact that Mercury is so close to the sun and we might assume it's pretty hot, the hottest planet is the second planet that is there, which is Venus, right? And it is the second planet from the sun. Now we see that it has thick clouds of sulfuric acid which is getting formed inside here, and of course we see that a lot of sulfuric acid clouds are also there, right? And we see that it is the brightest planet also. Now we often call Venus as the Earth's twin sister, right? Or we call, not sister, but Earth's twin, right? Now why is it that we say that we consider the Venus planet as the Earth's twin? Simply because we see that they are slightly similar in size, right? So size-wise, we observe that they are quite similar. And a quick fun fact here is that the Greeks who were there, they really thought that at one point, Venus was a planet which you can see in the morning sky and you can observe it in the night sky also. And if you saw, the Greek people thought that they were two different things altogether. When they never really realized that, it was the same planet. Yes. Ma'am, even though Mercury is closer to the sun, why is it that Venus is considered? Because of its chemical composition. It has something called as sulfuric acid, right? It has sulfuric acid clouds. So, lot of the components which are present within the planet also make it extra hot, which is why we see that Venus is not only the hottest, but the brightest. Yes? Then we will move on to the third planet which is there, which is planet Earth, right? Now, of course, as we all know, right? We know that Earth is our home, right? Every time I always say that Earth is our home. And we live on Earth, right? And we also see that because of this particular reason, yes, it is the third planet which is nearest. Yes, from the sun, it is the third planet. And conditions on Earth are pretty ideal to support life, right? And Earth is a unique planet, yes, you can say, right? Because it supports life. Now, of course, we know that in the case of the Earth's shape, right? We know that the Earth is slightly bulged. It is slightly bulged around the center portion, or what we call as the equator portion, and it is flattened out at the poles, right? So this kind of shape that is there, this kind of shape that we observe is what we call as a geoid shape. Now, exam point of view, this is little important. So, everybody, if you see, please put a star mark. So, yes, we will not say Earth is, if at all, right? If at all, I say, right, that this is the shape of the Earth. What should you say? You should say that it is geoid. Because geoid means Earth-like shape, right? So, geoid is said to be Earth-like shape. Yes, very, very important. So now, of course, when we talk about the Earth, we know that the conditions on Earth are quite favorable, right? It's not too hot also, but it's not too cold also. Even the atmosphere, the kind of gases that are there, we see that it provides the right kind of temperature, which actually allows life to survive. And of course, we see that, things which are necessary for survival of life, right? The basic necessities like oxygen, right proportion of oxygen, presence of water, all of these things are the reasons why we say that Earth is, suitable for survival of life. Now, along with that, we see that from the outer space, if you look at Earth, we know that almost 70% of the Earth is covered with water, which is why we also call it as a blue planet, right? Anushka, it is because they are similar in size, right? That is the reason. Now we will move on to the next planet, which is Mars, right? Now, of course, we see that in the case of Mars, we often call it as the red planet. Yes, because of course it is red in color. But can any of you tell me, right? But can any of you tell me why we consider Mars as a red planet? Now you have the blue planet, which is the Earth, and now you have Mars, which is we see that you have the Mars, which is the red planet, right? But what is the reason? Exactly, it is due to the presence of iron oxide, right? So we see that iron oxide is present on the surface, and we also see that gives the red in color. And apart from that, we see that Earth, of course, has one moon, but Mars has two moons, and we see that it has a thin atmosphere, right? So that is the reason. Now, the first four planets that we observed, right? We see that they are mainly rocky, right? Or we see that they are made up of rocks, which is why we call them as rocky planets, or we call them as terrestrial planets. Yes, so your Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars are said to be terrestrial planets. But if you talk about the next set of planets, right, your Jupiter, your Saturn, your Uranus and Neptune, we see that they're normally made up of gases mainly, and of course we refer to these two as gas giants, right? And we see that since they are far away, yes, we call them as Jovian planets or Jovian planets, but I think it's pronounced Jovian planets. I'm not sure of the pronunciation. But mainly we call it as such because they are Jupiter-like planets. Now, why do we say Jupiter-like planets? Because they're like Jupiter, which has a lot of, gases. It's made up of gases. The other three are also made up of gases, right? So this is one more important point of difference that all of you need to learn, right? Very, very important. Now, do you all want to take a screenshot of this? Yes, very quickly everybody take a screenshot. Okay. Yes. Ma'am, how much big night star is? I am not sure of the question, right? Yes. Ma'am, Venus is morning or evening star? It's same. Morning and evening, it's the same, right? Yes, we'll get to Saturn. Don't worry, we will get to Saturn. I'll explain. So very quickly everybody, right, as we know, next, of course, this is not part of your syllabus, but I'm just going to, go ahead and explain this to you a little bit. So as we all know, right, the next planet that is there is Jupiter, which is the largest planet. And of course, we see that there are various patterns which are there on Jupiter. So these are nothing but they are the swirling clouds, right? And we see that they are clouds which come in different colors. And it's also because all these clouds that are there are made up of ammonia ice. Ice normally we say is made up of water, but here it is made up of ammonia, right? And we see that it's made up of various different components. It also has some percentage of water as well. And of course, what is very popular about Jupiter? It is this great red spot that is there. Now this great red spot is not just some random spot, but it is actually a giant storm which is happening in Jupiter, right? So it is swirling and it is a storm which is happening at this point. And we see that of course they are made up of gases, so we call it as a gas giant. And if you take the size of one Jupiter, one Jupiter will fit 1,331 moons and Earths, and you can fit it in that. That's how big Jupiter is. Now, of course, between Jupiter and Mars, you will find an asteroid belt as well, which we will discuss later, right? Yes. So now we'll quickly move on. Oh, is it so? I will definitely read about it, but yes, they've been finding a lot of exoplanets and they've been trying to find new planets which are similar like Earth, right? Yes. So now, of course, we will move on to Saturn, right? Now, Saturn, of course, is categorized by these beautiful rings that are there. Saturn's rings are the first thing that attract you. And many of you have asked me, ma'am, what are the Saturn's rings made of? They are made up of ice and rock, right? And mainly that's how they are made. Now, scientists don't know how they were made, but this is the composition of it. Now, of course, we see that it is very light. Saturn is a very light planet. It's actually less dense than water also. And we see that it has many moons, right? Largest number of moons. Why ice? Because see, the temperatures there, as you go further and further away from the sun, because your Saturn is what, the 7th planet, right? Yes, sorry, my counting always goes 6th planet, sorry. Saturn is the 6th planet. So it's farther away from the moon, from the sun. And the further and further away it goes, the temperature becomes cold, right? So we see that ice, rock, dust particles, all of that is there. Yes? Okay. So now, of course, let's quickly move on to Uranus. Now, Uranus popularly is known as the tilted sideways planet, right? So we often call Uranus as the tilted sideways planet. And of course, we see that it was the first planet that we actually found with the help of a telescope. And of course, is mainly made up of ice and a lot of different gases. Then we have Neptune, which is the last planet. It is the coldest planet also, right? 1 year in Neptune is 165 years on Earth. That's how long it takes to finish one revolution around the sun, right? So this right here is very important. Now in your textbook also, they have given you some extra information. So there is a picture which is there. This is a picture of textbook. And they've also told you a little bit more about orbits, how long it takes, what is the time that it's happening. So this right here is something that you will have to understand. Tilted means SA, sideways, right? So earlier it was like this, and then we see that it is tilted. Now, this is an easy way for all of you to remember. My very educated mother just served us nuts. So that is a simple way of understanding about this, right? So now, of course, for many of you who are asking me, right? Ma'am, we covered the eight planets, but what about Pluto, right? How about Pluto as a planet? See, first and foremost, Pluto that is there is a dwarf planet, and it's so small that it is smaller than our own moon, right? And in the case of Pluto, up until actually when I was in school, I've learned Pluto as a planet itself, as a part of our solar system. We used to say we have 9 planets, right? But earlier recently, when there was a meeting that took place, we saw that there was a decision which was taken that dwarf planets, or planets which are very small in size, right? We call them as dwarf planets, and we don't really include them. It was so far away, right? So that's so far away, it was outside, it was not really considered as a part of our solar system, which is why in this case we see that Pluto is not part of it. And the boundary of our solar system is again another asteroid belt that is there, which is the Kuiper belt, right? And we learn more and more about it. Ma'am, in textbook it's given that Earth elongated path is a geoid or elongated path is an orbit. Geoid is an Earth-like shape which is flattened at the poles and a little more wider at the equator. So Pluto is not considered to be a planet. So with this, everybody, we come to the end of today's class. And here quickly, as you can see, I have a homework for all of you, where in the comments below, you need to tell me how does a planet differ from a star. Now, I know a lot of you have many other questions and doubts which I was not able to take due to the lack of time. But of course, any more doubts that you have, you let me know in the comments of this video, because BYJU'S 6 to 8 has always got you covered. So if you enjoyed today's class, do not forget to hit the subscribe button on this channel. Do not forget to like this video as well, right? So any doubts which I missed right now, let me know in the comments, right? Comments you let me know. I will definitely reply to you. So with this, everybody, I will be signing off. Up until next time. Thank you so much, everybody. See you. Till then, take care. Lots of love and bye-bye.